loud? Okay. I may, as we listen to a lot of music today, I may talk a little bit over some of it, and I hope you can hear what I have to say then, just in case it's correct. The great melodist, Dvorak, and that's true. You know, that's what I always think of when I think of him, is just the wonderful music that poured out of that man. You know, he was born in this, let me back up a bit. William Strunk, from Strunk and White fame, who wrote The Elements of Style, said, if you don't know how to pronounce a word, or if it's a very tough foreign word, just say it much louder. Dvorak was born in Nelahozeves, Czechia. And so that's the best I can do. But he was born in 1841. His father was an innkeeper, had a couple of rooms that he kept for travelers. He also was a professional zither player. I don't know how much work you can get being a professional zither player, but that's what he did. And he was also primarily a butcher. And Dvorak, Antonin Dvorak, our hero for today, was the first son, the first child of his parents, and therefore, being the first child, was expected to go into the family, take over the family business, being a butcher. But he learned early on that wasn't for him. People recognized that he had a great talent for music at the age of 6 or so when he started playing the violin. His education was meager because, Czechia, Moravia, Bohemia, which is where this village was a little bit northwest of Prague, was taken over by the Austro-Hungarian Empire, the Habsburgs, and they kind of repressed the local population. Education was mandatory, but it was not the kind of education that the Germans were getting, and the German-speaking people would. It was a kind of segregation and repression that, goes on in the world today. It was recognized that Dvorak was such a talent, and so he was sent to this other little town, Zienice, and where he could not only learn more about violin, but started to learn about playing the keyboard and playing the organ. And he excelled at that, and finally was sent to Prague, where he studied and learned. And he had no money at all. But let me see if I'm forgetting anything here. Yes, so he had no money. He gave some lessons, piano lessons. There was this woman that he was giving lessons to, who was about 13 years his junior. She was so beautiful and talented and witty, and he fell in love with her, and she spurned him. And so, as, I don't know, the custom was, he married her sister instead, who was 5 years younger. But this was after a while, and they were broke all the time. He had a job playing the organ at St. Adalbert's church in Prague, a very small little church. His income was $7.50 a month for doing that. And, even in those days, that wasn't very much money. But he was a composer. He wrote and wrote and wrote without much recognition. But I'd like for us to listen now to one of my favorite pieces of all time. This is from his early period. It's the String Serenade. You see it on your list. The String Serenade in E major. Do you all know what that means, E major? The music can be in a major key or a minor key. The third note of the scale could be major or minor. I like to call the major third note the happy note, like, oh, pardon me, I'm going to sing a little bit, which is not often successful. Do bum 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 bum. That's the major note, the happy note. If the sad note, dum bum 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 bum. The third note is low instead of bum bum. Da da dee dum, da da dee dum, da da dum. You've all heard that song, right? Well, anyway, this is in E major, and it's just a sunny, brilliant piece that's so characteristic of Dvorak. Wonderful, long melodies that just sing and are happy and have kind of that Slavonic feel to it. So, Matt, if you will play that next example. Can we back it up to the beginning of that piece? Let's listen to how it glows. I went to school with that guy. Here you feel the strong folk element. Isn't that beautiful? It's so sunny. And I just love that piece. I can't begin to tell you what it feels like to play music like that, just to be a part of all that sunshine. And that's what so much of Dvorak's music was like. He was starving at this point, he and his wife and his family. Yeah, they had the first three kids they had died. You know, one at birth, one when it was 1 year old, and the other when a son that was 3.5. And he wrote some very serious music, then a wonderful piece, Stabat Mater, about 80-minute long, very serious piece. But that's not who he was. He was, he looked positively at life, and that's, and how do I know? I can hear it in his music. You can too. I mean, he wrote some sadder things that you'll hear later, but they're sad, in my opinion, in an evocative sense. So maybe that doesn't make sense, but it does to me. But that piece has great craftsmanship and inspiration, and as I said, it's one of my favorites. But nonetheless, he and his family were struggling. He admits to having thoughts of going out and stealing bread for his family, but he never did. Yes, Margot?